Okay, so I think what I am going to do is try to look at the current state that my project is in, try to understand some of the concepts behind what happened. I'm not expecting to understand everything today, but try to put as much as I can in my head and see what goes on. So, first thing that I asked Gemini was trying to understand, like, how can I figure out the state that things are currently in. And it says like t- uh, go to the database and try to see what's actually in store there. So this is gonna be the first thing that I do. I'm gonna get this, close this off. The things in specific that I'm thinking about investigating, I have made a lot of changes very quickly in the past couple days, and some of them I don't know exactly what they're doing or how they're working, and so that's why it's breaking, and I'm unable to figure out, okay, well, what's going on. Another thing, like for example, the end-to-end test. Okay, well, I created this end-to-end test, but I don't really know what it does or how it's working, why it's anything about that. So it's something that I need to go in and understand. Then we have all of the other things which we did today, which were I was trying to be able to have vectorization to my database, and this ended up causing a huge amount of issues because there's no such thing as vector according to entity framework or the Postgres database, so I needed to use some kind of extension, but I don't know what an extension is. I don't know what it does. I don't know why it was breaking. And then I needed to be able to. I don't even know what I did today. There was so much going on, and I just feel very lost on this. So, okay. Trying to understand where things are. The database doesn't lie. Even if your code is messy, the database schema tells you exactly what data you can expect, or actually in store right now. Check out the data. So connect to my data. Docker exec IT. Okay. Backend project. Where did it get this? What is this command? And where did you get backend this? Okay. So, oh right, I have it on thinking. I can actually change that. I don't need it to be in depth thinking right now. So I think the first step is going to be trying to query the database and see what's in there, understand a little bit more about how Postgres is actually working, and I also need to find out how to be able to query that from my entity framework. So understand a little bit how more about how all of these things work together. Um, okay, so what does this command do? Postgres is running inside of a Docker container. You can't just run PSQL on my Mac and expect it to work. You have to tell Docker reach inside the container and run the command there. So Docker exec tells Docker execute a command inside a running container. Is it a running container though? IT is interactive for terminal. This allows you to actually type commands into the database and see the results in real time rather than just running a one-off command, okay? Sure. Is the name of my container. Is it though? Post PSQL, the name of the program you want to run inside of the container, okay? tells Postgres to log you in as user. Okay. A few messages ago. I don't think it actually is the container I'm looking for, because if I go to my Docker Compose file here, I'm going to say, here is my Docker Compose file. What can you tell me about my database? Oh, and it's still in the thinking. I can give you specific x-ray of how your database is set up. There's a few critical details here to explain. Connection details. Your database has two different addresses depending on where you are standing. From your Mac external, use localhost here. From Bitengine, use Postgres. Okay, yeah. So you are using a named volume here. This is good. It means if you stop the container, things aren't going to be deleted. Okay. Schema SQL. Hold on a second. Where is it? Infrastructure. Here it is. Database. We might need to change this, right? Because now we need the new fields, possibly. Because we're trying to add the vector to it, right? Will not be deleted. Automatic setup. If you have a mapping to infrastructure database migrations, any SQL or startup scripts you put in that folder will automatically run the very first time the database is created. It's a great place to put schema SQL files. So that might be a problem, that it's trying to start those scripts up and... Okay, looking at your image. So image is Postgres 15 Alpine. This is standard bare bones Postgres image. It does not have the PG vector extension installed. Okay. This confirms why your AI agent switched to using JSONB for embeddings. Standard Postgres can store a list of numbers in a JSON blob, but it can't do the vector math. Okay, so we might actually still need to change this. In your previous Docker PS output, your container was named this. Actually, we might need to bring that down. You have explicitly named it I think what we saw running was a container from a very old project. How do I take that one down, and then check on the data inside of my current project's Postgres. Explain by teaching concepts. Okay. So it makes perfect sense that you're seeing ghosts of old projects. This is a common hurdle when learning Docker. To clean this up and see your current data, we need to understand three core concepts: project isolation, container lifecycle, and host port mapping. Okay, so Docker Compose uses name or project names to keep things separate. Okay. By default, the name of the folder containing my Docker Compose becomes the project name. So that's going to be like add infrastructure or something like this. My old project was likely a folder in a folder called backend project, which it was, yes. Docker named the container Postgres1. Your current project has container name adds Postgres set in the YAML. Since that name didn't appear in my Docker PS, your current project isn't actually running yet. So, which is true, right? It's not running, yes. There are two ways to halt a container. So I can do Docker stop, just turns off the power. The container still exists and its ghost, its name, stays on Docker memory. Docker Compose down, this is a clean exit and stops the container along with virtual networks. Okay. Your YAML wants to use 5434 on my Mac if an old container is already squatting on that port in your new project will crash. Okay. So kill the ghost container. Since you might not be in the old project folder anymore, you can remove the specific container by doing docker remove. Okay. Okay. Now docker ps, right? And we have nothing. Good. Okay. Start my current project. Navigate to your add simulator folder where your new Docker and do Docker Compose up -d. Okay, let's clear all of these. Is there a easy way to like kill terminal, kill terminal, kill terminal, kill terminal? Okay. Now, new terminal. So what does it want me to do? Docker Compose up with the -d, and so detached in the background. Okay. Docker Compose -d. Minus should work. Okay. So we're doing this. Okay. So now I should do the PS, right? Yep. Okay. Docker PS. Okay, here we go. So let's look at what we have here. Okay. So I'm gonna move this over so that I can have more. We have name of the container created about an hour ago. Okay. 34 hours ago, 2 days ago, all of these containers are when. Okay, that kind of makes sense because I remember with Docker, it runs the container of the image. Like, if there's already an image that was created, it just does an up on that image. It doesn't build the image each time, okay? And then the ports which it's mapping to. Okay. Another question I have is, can I still hit my thing here? Yeah, okay, so it's still working, okay. So now I'm gonna come here, adds Postgres. Oh yeah, so Bitengine, adds simulator front end, okay. Adds front end, okay. Kafka, Zookeeper, adds Postgres right there, okay. Redis and Grafana. Okay, so we do have them, okay. So now, how to check the data inside the new Postgres. So I can do docker exec and then IT for interactive, then adds Postgres, the name of the container, the command that I want, okay? So I'm going into the Docker container called this. I'm doing this command, and then I'm giving myself user permission, okay, for the adds DB, okay. Okay. Describe the table. Type adds, okay. Okay. So what do we see here? Oh, and I probably should have copied over. Okay, so I still have this. Do I understand everything? I think I do. Okay. So, public ads. Okay. What about, what was that? Why did we do like D? Okay, so it's like, okay. Interesting. So why would we not have campaigns, right? What was our database called? CAMPAIGNS. Okay. Peek at the rows. What to look for? Look for column list. You should see description and embeddings. Okay, so column, description, and embedding right there. So we got it. Okay, type. Let's type text and JSONB collection. So not nullable. these ones are not null. Okay. So I can do specific SQL commands here. Okay. If you run these commands at the table adds doesn't exist, it means database migration hasn't run for this specific project yet. Because you're using Postgres data as a volume, Docker is looking for. Okay, so I see the embeddings and description, but not campaigns. Here is one of my startup scripts. Notice that this one has not been changed since I started changing to the vector yet. Will this cause problems? I keep forgetting that I need to press away from the thinking. You've actually discovered a very important clue about your project's history. The reason you couldn't find the campaigns is a combination of a small typo and a technical concept called schema evolution. Okay? The missing campaigns. The reason Postgres said it didn't find the relationship is because the typo in your command in SQL, the table name campaigns, plural, but in your terminal you type campaign. Okay. Postgres is literally telling you I have a... Okay. Okay, so DT. There it is. Okay. Okay. Display table. Alright. Will the old startup script cause problems? The answer is no, not immediately. The long answer, the concept. In Docker, the folder infrastructure database migration, which maps to this, has a very specific rule. It only runs the very first time a database is created. But when I'm doing like GitHub Actions, it's a temporal thing, right? So it is new. But if I push to GitHub and GitHub Actions do their thing, will the startup script be a problem? Because in that situation, it is not affected by the migration, right? Can you explain what the migration actually did? Okay. We can just do this one. Okay, so which means has a very specific, it only runs on creation, right? The conflict, your SQL script is now a historical document. It represents how the database looked before the vectorization changes. The reset risk. This will cause a problem if you decide to wipe the slate clean. For example, by deleting my Docker volume. If you delete the volume and run Docker compose up, Docker runs the old SQL script. The adds table is created without the description or embedding columns. Your C# code, which now expects columns, will crash immediately because it tried to find data that isn't there. Okay. To keep your project clean and professional, your startup scripts should always match your C# models. You should update adds, table definition. Okay. So to have this. Okay. Currently, currently in the future has vector volumes. Okay. Startup scripts currently in the past. Okay. This is a fantastic question and at the heart of, okay. Static setup and dynamic evolution. Here is exactly how this will behave in GitHub Action environment. Number one, will the startup script be a problem in GitHub Actions? No, but only because it will likely be ignored. In a typical GitHub Action workflow, every time a job runs, it starts with a completely fresh, empty virtual machine. Yeah. GitHub starts your Docker container because the database is empty. Okay. It runs init SQL script. It creates the adds without the vector columns. Yep. My app starts. If you have context database migrate in my program.cs, let's actually see if we do. I don't know if we do. So I'm not seeing it there. I see migration there. Let's come here. Adds here. And now float to JSON converter. So I'm going to need to investigate this, find out what's going on here. Persist embeddings as JSONB for compatibility across dev environments. Okay. Okay. Embedding metadata here, targeting rules. Okay. And then this one. No, this is just the markdown file. Campaigns.cs. Okay. And close these two. The app will immediately see that the database is missing the vector column. Entity framework will try to update the table. This is where it gets risky. Okay. What does the migration... Did I have the... I remember that there was another file that it created. It created all of these. So, like, what is going on here? Database migrations. But where is this called? So it's not in the namespace there. Or there. Or there. There. Like, I'm not seeing any migration there. What did the migration actually do? Think of your database like a Lego castle. The SQL script is the instruction manual to build the castle from scratch. The migration is the change order that says go to the existing castle and add a new tower to the left. When Copilot ran the migration, EF core did things behind the scenes. A. Created a C# step file. It created a file in your migrations folder. Yes, like, I don't know what this is doing. I have a lot of migration files now. I have 3 of them. Okay. So it created a file in my migrations folder. The up method contains alter table adds. The down method entity framework looks at hidden tables in my database called EF migration history. If the table is empty, it runs every migration you've ever made. If it sees migration A is already in there, it skips it. Okay. Updating the snapshot. It updated a file called model snapshot. Yes, I see that as well. This is an EF core master blueprint. It uses this to remember what the database should look like without having to ask the database every time. So danger. If you're in it, SQL is very old and contains data that conflicts with new constraints like not null, step 2 will fail, and your GitHub action will turn red. Okay? So actually our unit tests are passing though. The problem is our end-to-end test is failing, but I don't even know what an end-to-end test does or what it's doing there. So that's something else that we need to look into to try to find our way, because we are completely lost right now. So your action plan for GitHub. To make your project CI/CD ready, do these things. Sync the script, okay, so that create table block includes description and embedding columns. Verify program.cs, okay. Contains this line, usually inside a main or after builder build, okay. Yo, oh, here it is. Uncomment this if you're using, okay. Database migration can be, okay. Interesting. Okay, so we got something new here too. Okay. Scope, service provider. Okay. So I see 3 files in my migration folder. Okay, let's just go through this. Okay. And this one. And okay. This is perfect evidence of why your project is now in a healthy state. Despite the confusion, these 3 files are the DNA of your database's evolution. By looking at these, I can explain exactly what Copilot did to solve your ridiculous migration thing and why this setup is actually quite clever. Okay, interesting. Okay, this is the most important file. Okay, so add vector support for ads CS. This one. 2020, okay, 2025, December 21, okay, and then this is probably the time, maybe. Okay, whatever. Add vector support for, oh, and now it makes sense why it's a migration and needs a timestamp. Okay, that actually does make sense. Okay, so inherit doc, public partial class, add vector support to ads. Okay. Migration. Protected override void up. So here's the up thing and here's the down thing. Okay, okay, okay. Interesting. Nullable disable. I haven't seen that. I don't know what that does. Protected override void. Okay. Migration builder, migration builder. Okay. SQL alter table add column if does not exist, description text. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Here, alter table add column if not exist, embedding. Reasonable, reasonable. Then down, we drop it. Wait, why drop? What does down do then? Okay, now I'm starting to get a little bit more context. Okay, now things are making a little bit more sense. Okay. I mean, I still feel pretty lost, but I feel like I'm, making. Okay. So keep going. Um, I just do not want to stop. I want to keep going and going and going and going. Um, okay. So where was I? Here. This is the most important file for your GitHub action question. Okay. The magic the magic. Instead of using standard EF core commands like table add column, Copilot wrote raw SQL inside of the migrations. Alter table add column if not exists. Description is text. Okay, so why it's smart. If you push to GitHub, okay, in it, SQL creates the columns first, yes. This migration won't crash. It sees if not exists, just moves on. It is that's the word that Copilot was using too. Idiomapotent. Safe to run multiple times, okay? Okay, so idiomapotent means I can run this multiple times, and because it's saying if not exists, if it does exist, it's okay. Interesting. Okay. The blueprint. Okay. This is the second file you pasted. Let's go look at it, and then I'm gonna ask a follow-up question of number one. Oh, what? Oh, maybe it even said it up here actually. Like, what is up? The up method contains here, but what does that do? Okay, anyways, what and when will up and down be called? Okay, so now let's go to the second one, this one. Okay, let's come here. Okay, let's look at it first. BitEngine migration, so it's the same namespace. Okay. I'm also noticing it's not like a class. Hold on a second. That's kind of weird, don't you think? This is not a class either. Oh, this is a partial class, but okay. Here. Oh, sorry. So we have these two things, which, okay. Add vector support to ads. So what does this? So I don't know. So type DB context, app DB context. Okay, migrations, and then add vector support to ads. Okay, and then we have build target model, and we have a model builder, and then pragma warning disable. Okay, so we're disabling those two specific warnings. Then we have model builder. So whatever was passed in here has annotation, production version, has annotation relational max identification length 63. And then MPG SQL model builder extension. Use identity by default columns, okay? Here, and then all of these, and it says B property is okay. Embedding. Shared campaign. Okay, there's a, and then restore warning. Okay, so then we re-enable those warnings. Okay, so this is the second file you pasted. It is an auto-generated file that tells EF core, after this specific migration is finished, this is exactly what the code thinks the database looks like. Notice it lists embedding as JSONB and description as text. This is the internal map EF uses to build queries, okay? The final master plan. This is the file you passed it. Okay, so model Snapchat. Let's snapshot, not Snapchat. So this one, the first file you pasted in the current state of the entire project is the current state of the entire project. When you run .NET EF migration add in the future, .NET Core doesn't look at your database. It looks at this file to see what changed since last time. It contains the definition for campaigns, ads, and targeting rules, okay? Observation from my snapshot. There are two technical truths hidden in these files that you should know. JSONB versus vector. The snapshot confirms embedding is mapped as JSONB. Now, obviously, as I said, looking towards the future, I know that eventually we are going to need to change it to be an actual, like, PG vector, because we're going to have to do the math for that. Okay. So, what is this? Oh, this is a snapshot. Okay. Right, that's where we were at. Okay, so this confirms your app is currently using JSON storage approach, not the Postgres vector approach. So we're going to have to change to a different database, essentially. Or we're going to have to do a new Docker image, a new volume, I'm guessing, of a Postgres that does have that embeddings there. I think that's what is going to have to happen. Notice timestamp with zone time. Entity Framework has configured your dates to be time zone aware. This is a best practice for production apps, but can sometimes be tricky because your Mac clock and Docker clock are different. Okay, whatever. So my road to semantic search. Now that we know the plumbing is working, columns exist, migration is safe, you are ready to move forward towards your goal of matching ads to video. Number 1, update my init SQL. Since you're worried about GitHub Actions, open your infrastructure database migration init SQL and add the description and embedding, okay? Columns to the table section. This makes instructional manual to match the Lego set. Okay. Seed vector data. What does seed mean? You need some ads to actually have vectors so you can test. Okay. So right now they don't have any vectors. That makes sense, actually. So I need to move those vectors into the database. Okay. Oh. You can do this with a simple SQL command in my terminal. Yeah, okay. So, the brain. You need to write the code that makes a video description and finds the best ad. Okay. I'm actually going to... Where do I want to go from here? Possibly open up a new chat and start asking about what can you tell me about E2E testing? Okay. I'm going to say agentic copilot created this for GitHub actions on my project, and now I am trying to understand. I have never done E2E and don't have much experience with GitHub Actions. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here and in my workflows, I'm going to do this one, okay? Here. And then I need to find that script that it runs. So it's probably in here, yep. Okay. Oh, I forgot to get some water, but okay. So, CI/CD pipeline. Think of end-to-end testing as the user's perspective. While the unit tests check if a single function works, end-to-end tests check if the entire machine, the database, backend, and frontend work together to finish a task. Here's a breakdown of what is happening in your project. So, the strategy. What is a smoke test? The script created for you is a smoke test. In software, this comes from the plumbing world. You turn on the gas or water and see if smoke leaks out, okay? It doesn't test every button. It checks critical paths. Does the site load? Can a user click an ad? Does the system record that click? Okay. If this system fails, there is no point in doing further testing. Okay. Breaking down the GitHub action, the YAML. This file tells GitHub when and where to run the test. So on pull, okay, this is the gatekeeper. Every time you or a teammate proposes a code change, run these tests automatically. If they fail, you'll see a red X on the pull request, okay? And we saw that, right? Like we see it here. Okay, so I can come here and I'm getting this error. Let me even just read this error. So starting end-to-end smoke test checks against front end, okay? Here waiting for 8081, I believe that's Grafana right there. Metrics to be available, okay, is up. Waiting for localhost 3000, that's my website to be available. It's up. Checking homepage content, parsing first ad, okay? No ad. So it's not able to get the ad. Are we actually, can I rerun all jobs and do this one? I want to see why. Okay. Okay. There's the end-to-end smoke script. Okay. Tear down. Wish I had more coffee. Although, what time? It's 2:30 a.m. Okay, well, maybe I should not have more coffee. But I can't. I just want to focus on this, you know. Okay. So it failed, and now we have a little bit more context, right? Wait, where did I see? I saw that it failed. I saw red. Oh. No, that's up here. So, okay. Anyways, runs on Ubuntu latest. GitHub provides a fresh, empty virtual Linux machine for my code to run on. Yep. So Docker steps. Since Docker GitHub machine is empty, it uses Docker Compose to spin up my entire stack. Redis, Postgres, Bitengine, front end. Inside, that is a virtual machine so they can talk to each other, okay? So it spins up all of those things. Redis, Postgres, Bitengine, everything. Capture diagnostics. This is a lifesaver. If the test fails, it dumps the logs from my containers to see if, for example, the database crashed. Okay, oh, here it is. Capture diagnostics here. Okay. Okay, fine. Breaking down the shell script. This script acts like a robot user. Breaking down the shell script. This script, okay, so the shell script, this one, is kind of like a robotic user. Okay. Instead of using a browser, which is slow and heavy, okay, it uses the curl command. Okay, that makes sense. Wait for pings the URL repeatedly. Why? Containers take a few seconds to start. We can't test a site if it isn't awake yet. Okay, so where do we see this? Wait for something here. Okay. Okay. If this, then echo that it's up and return 0. Return 1. Okay. Let's wait for. Okay, wait for here. Okay. Curl this, and if not, echo something grep. Homepage did not contain expected feature ads. Okay, I think that's what we saw, right? Let's come back up here. No ad click. Hold on, let me come to here. So was it the case that we... Okay, so this one does do it. This one... Okay, this one does it too. Is it that it's clicking in the wrong spot or what? I can't remember if in the past we could click here. This one does work, okay. So parsing homepage. Checking homepage content, parsing first ad click. Okay. No click on href found homepage. Here. So we did this exit 3, okay? If z href. So href echo here grep click. trigger the click. Check homepage. So download the HTML and load the featured ads. Okay, parse click. Finds a link that looks like click ID, simulates the user finding an ad they like. Okay, so does this mean that it is unable to find something that is backslash? Let me see, what is the, is there something that will load it? No, okay. Hits the URL and expects a 302 redirect. Okay. Key concepts for you. Docker is the environment. In end-to-end testing, if you want the test environment to match production, if I want the test environment to match production, Docker allows the GitHub action to create a mini universe that contains your exact database and exit 2, exit 3 in my script. In Linux, an exit code of 0 means success. Anything 1 through 255 is a failure, okay? How to use it. If it fails, go to GitHub Action tab, click on failed run, and look at capture diagnostics. To run it locally, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do Control A, copy this and paste it into here, and then say, tell me the concepts of how to go about troubleshooting this. Okay. This is a perfect learning opportunity. Okay, great. Because you've encountered the exact scenario end-to-end tests are designed to catch a hidden breaking change. Even though your GitHub action says exit 3, no ad click found, the root cause is actually buried in your database logs. My database logs. Okay, so what is a database log? Is it whenever I execute a command? So number 1 is, what is a database log? Is it a complete log every time I make a command? Every time I do a query? Okay. So trace the failure chain. A failure at the end is usually caused by a failure at the beginning if you work backwards. Okay, so I really wish I had more coffee. Okay, a failure at the end is usually caused by a failure at the beginning. Okay. You have to work backwards. So the scripts complain, I can't find an ad to click, exit 3. The logical deduction, why is the home page empty? If there are no ads on the page, the front end probably failed to fetch them from the back end. Okay, yeah. The log evidence. You look at the ads bid engine logs and see SQL state here, column A, description. Descriptions, you see? That's one of the columns that we added. The verdict. Your code is trying to query a column called description in the database, but that column isn't there. Okay. Understanding the schema gap. Since you're on a branch called feature semantic search, it's likely you added a description field to your code, but the database schema inside the Docker container hasn't been updated to match. In an E2E environment, your database starts fresh. If your migration scripts didn't run or weren't included in the database, is old while your code is new. Back to migrations. In a typical .NET EF project, you use migrations to update the database. The concept is, did you create a new migration from the description column, or for the description column? Check. Is there a new file in your migrations folder? If not, the end-to-end test has no way of knowing about it. So yes, but did we push it there? Let me check. Okay. So I'm gonna come here. Let's see if we can see the actual code here. I'll type this, failed E2E test. Okay. I think the issue might be because it is, or the error, states that the query is unable to locate e.description. Description is one of the two columns which I added to my ads table today. Possible solutions possible that the migration scripts did not run when doing the GitHub E2E tests on my local device. I am able to see and query the ads from my front end. Okay. So write that comment and it will be there. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into code. Semantic search, okay. And now I want to see if migrations are here. Source. So where are the migration files? Is it within source? Yes. Migration and Bitengine. Source, Bitengine, migrations. Okay. So it is there. Interesting. Okay. Check if there's a new file. Okay, so the migrations folder is there. Okay. Initial state. For an end-to-end test to click on an ad, the ad must exist in the database. Seeding is the process of injecting dummy data into the database when it starts. If the query for ads fails due to the missing column, the seed process likely crashes. Okay, Docker layer caching. Sometimes Docker Action remembers old versions of Docker images to save time. If you changed your database setup but didn't update the Docker compose YAML or Docker file, the container might be using out of date. Okay. So we already did this. Add description tools, local Docker. Ensure Bitengine is configured to run. The most important part of that wall of text is the MPG SQL Postgres exception. Column A description does not exist. This tells you exactly which service is mad Bitengine and exactly why there's that error. Okay, would you like me to show you how to add and I have the 3 files in there. When I run it on my local Docker, I can see and click on both ads. Okay. Where the fun, here's the woo of end-to-end testing when it works on your machine but fails on the cloud. Yeah. Let's tackle your questions, then solve the mystery of why Docker container behaves differently. What is a database log? Okay, so think of a database log as black box flight recorder, okay, for your data. It's not usually a log of every successful query. Recording every single select statement would make the database very slow and fill up your hard drive instantly. Yeah. By default, databases only log events like startup, shutdown, crashes. It is a log of every error. Okay, when a query fails, like your missing column errors, the database shouts about it in the logs. Okay, I see. Transaction logs. Behind the scenes, the database also keeps a write ahead log. This is a technical log of every change used for recovery if the power goes out, but humans rarely read these directly. Okay. In your GitHub Action output, you're seeing a file. If you're seeing standard output, the Postgres container, the agentic copilot set the workflow to capture diagnostics, which basically tells Docker, hey, tell me everything about the database sharded before the test failed. Okay, so migration mystery. You mentioned you have 3 CS files. This is good. It means the instructions to create the description column exist in your code. However, having the files does not mean the same as running them. In Entity Framework, files are just maps. You still have to drive the car to get to the destination output. Okay. So why it works locally but fails in GitHub. This only works on my machine, classic. Here are 2 likely conceptual reasons. Okay, so the first one, the pre-existing database, the dirty state. Locally, you probably ran the migration on your local database weeks ago. No, it was just like, whatever, probably like noon today. Or you have persistent Docker, a volume. Yes, this is correct. Save the state of my database from a previous run. Your local database is already evolved. Okay, so now I'm starting to see kind of how these things are fitting together. So we did a migration and that changed the database, and then I have the startup scripts that don't include those columns. But normally it should be okay because I have in my Docker something that does the migration if it's not there. Okay. But maybe my thing is. Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, so maybe my thing on my local, my Postgres on my local, because we did the migrations, they're there, and my startup scripts don't run. Okay, but then why are my unit tests passing? Is it possible that my unit tests don't test for that? I don't know. Let me see about my tests. Hold on. No, not here. Returns true when. Okay. So maybe it's because we're not mentioning anything about the embeddings here. Okay. When no active campaigns. So see, we're not adding any. Oh, this is no, this is ad. This is an ad. Campaign ID, title. Yeah, so for this one, and I think because my description and embeddings are not marked as required, it's not failing when I create a new ad here. And because my unit tests are not testing for the embedding field or the description field, my unit tests are passing. Okay. I think that's what's going on. So I think it's not triggering the migration. I think it's starting up fresh. I think it's running my initialization scripts, which do not have the description or embedding columns. Okay. Then it's building my project, but it's not performing the migrations. I think this is what's happening. It passes all my unit tests because it runs through all of this and there's nothing about embeddings. Okay. And then it goes to the end-to-end testing, and that does use the embeddings because we changed stuff here in the project and in front end, or like we changed stuff here to have something with embeddings, and then it fails. I think that's what's going on. Okay. Okay. You probably ran into the migration on. You probably ran the migration on your local database weeks ago. Okay. Save the state from a previous run. Your local database already evolved. Okay. GitHub starts a brand new empty Postgres container every single time. Yep, it has no columns, no data. If your code doesn't explicitly tell the database to run those 3 migration files during startup, the database remains empty or outdated, okay? Reason B, the Docker build cache. Docker tried to be fast, seed Docker image layer that looks like one. If my Docker file copies the code before you added the new migration files, GitHub is using cached version of that image. Okay, how to fix, troubleshoot. So I do have this though. To troubleshoot this, you need to ensure your app auto migrates on startup. Okay. In your .NET, usually in Program CS, you likely need a block of code that looks like this, okay? A quick test you can do is in your adding this line in your scripts, add this line right after wait for commands. This requires Entity Framework tool to be installed in the container, but it's a quick way to see if forcing the migration fixes the error. Exec. So we're executing a command, bitengine.net database update, okay. So I have this here, this. This block here, because that middle line is commented out, your application starts up but never actually talks to the database. Please create the tables. Okay, why it works locally but not on GitHub. Locally, you probably ran a command like .NET database update in my terminal. Trust me, I ran so many commands today, I have no idea. And Copilot ran commands for me. I ran commands for me. I pasted commands from you, Gemini. I pasted. I, I ran so many commands, I don't even know, man. Okay. So you probably ran a command like .NET EF database update in your terminal at some point. This updated your local Postgres database. Even if you restart Docker, if you're using volumes, which most local setups do, that database stays updated, okay? GitHub Actions. It stays 100% with, or it starts with a 100% empty database. Since your code never calls migrate, okay? The database stays empty. When the front end tries to load adds, the bit engine throws a column A description does not exist error because the table doesn't exist. By the way, I feel a lot better and more comfortable than when I started this video. Because one of the things that I was very, very uncomfortable about was these files. And I was like, it just added this. There's a ton of lines of code. I don't know what it's doing. And I was very uncomfortable with that. Now I'm like, okay, I understand what it's doing. Now I don't understand the details, right? But I at least understand kind of, okay, I know what this is about. That kind of feeling. There, okay. So I'm trying to get a holistic understanding of how things are happening. I also don't know, as of right now, where is it actually trying to get, where is my program trying to get description and embedding, and how is it using it? I don't know yet. That's something that I do need to know, but I feel a lot better than when I initially started, because when I was at the beginning of this video, I was very like, I have no idea what's going on. I am completely lost. Copilot just went. I was trying to fix my problem. I was trying to do a lot of different things, and I couldn't understand what was happening. Now I'm starting to kind of massage it and understand things piece by piece. And so I'm don't know exactly how to solve it yet. I don't know exactly where I am. I still am lost, but I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm not doing the migrate, and that's why it's failing. Okay. When the front end tries to load ads, Bitengine throws a column A does not exist error. The fix. Uncomment that line. Okay. Like that. Handle the race condition. In GitHub action logs, you might have noticed the service starts almost at the same time if Bitengine tries to migrate before Postgres is fully ready. The app will crash. The Agentic Copilot added a wait for containers, but that check, okay. Not if the database is ready for queries. How to fix this? Check the logs again. You should see something. Okay, so let me try doing this. Exit. Quit. Okay. Docker compose down. Can I do that? Okay. Now, PS, good. I want to do a git add, right? Git commit -m uncommented out migration line so that GitHub Actions will see that migration is required, as database now has 2 extra columns. Okay. So now git push origin, not main, feature semantic search, go. Okay, so now that should trigger another one of these. And let's just see what happens. So, yeah, with this right here, it's going to pass, and I think it's just because we didn't do the unit tests correctly or not correctly, but we didn't update the unit tests. So, well, it says queued. 30 seconds. Okay, the unit test passed. Doing this one, which that's expected, right? So let's see about this. Okay, come on, come on. I think it passed. I think I saw green. Yes! 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 It passed! It passed! Oh my gosh! Yes! 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 We got it! Oh my goodness! We got it! There it is! Let's merge it. Let's merge it. I think because now we've changed. It's safe to merge, right? Because we changed our database, okay, and we updated the database to reflect those two new columns. That's fine. Nothing is wrong with that. We've verified that we're able to get all of the ads, search them, okay? We understand now how we've changed it, okay? Oh my goodness, great, great. It passes all of the tests. I think we are ready. Let's do this. Okay, so let's get a good description, okay? Okay. So I found the issue. Was commented out. What did we do? So I'm trying to learn as well, right? So I'm saying it. It was commented out, so we did something. Oh, right. We did the migration on my local. Do I even need to say it? I can just say, like, I can just say it, right? I found the issue. Okay. So what the issue was is we had our we ran the migration on my local MacBook. And my local MacBook decided that, or it stored it in my volume, which is on my local MacBook. But we never actually did that migration. We never called these functions to update the database to be what it's supposed to be. Okay? So then, when I pushed this to GitHub, GitHub started up a brand new uh, computer essentially and ran my startup scripts. My startup scripts don't have those columns there. Then it didn't run the migration. And when you tried to access one of the database or one of the ads, it tried to check for description, that column, the rows column, right, of description. It tried to check it and said, hey, there's no field of description. And then it crashed. But now we migrated it, so now it does the startup scripts. It doesn't have the description or embedding. It then does the migration. It adds those. Then you check it, okay, and it's there, and it passes. Yes. Okay. I found the issue. Things are working now. I want to merge this branch into my main. Please write a descriptive what did GitHub call it? And extended description for the features that we added today. Okay. Getting those vector columns to show up in the database, seeing the migration success is a huge milestone. Yes. Here's a professional descriptive commit message and extend description you can use in your pull request or merge. It follows the standard convention of short summary. Okay, so commit message. Add semantic support for adds via vector description. And okay. Data model adds database schema. Okay, infrastructure configure. Bid selector, front end. So add semantic support to ads via description. I also should do here found, can I do this one? Okay. Found issue, fixed issue, migration line, migration was not actually performed. In code. I did the migrations on my local computer, which was saved in as a volume. Okay? I then because it was saved, I didn't the startup scripts didn't run because the database was already created. Okay? But when I pushed to GitHub, it starts with a fresh start each time, ran my SQL init script, but never did the migration. So the database had the older schema. Okay. Then when I changed the code to perform the migration. This fixed the error because the schema matched expectations. Okay. Comment that. Okay. And then for merge here, so overview here. Integrated support for contextual ad targeting by adding description and embedding fields to the ad model. This enables the system to move beyond simple bid price auctions towards semantic search, allowing ads to be matched against video content. Correct. Data model, updated ad entity in the shared project to include description. Yep. And embedding. Yep. Database schema created in Yep, this one. This means that you can, well, I want to say what it means. It means that you can run this multiple times and it's not going to cause a crash. And the reason is because when you do if not exists, that was it. If not exists, if it does exist, it's fine. Okay. So then do what? Columns here. Yeah. The text and JSON-B. Infrastructure configured value converters to handle mapping between C# and the JSON-B. Implemented value comparator to use entity framework. Okay, bid selection, updated bid selector and API response models to include ad description, enabling front end to display contextual information. Docker updated the database initialization scripts to ensure new environments are created the correct vector-ready scheme. Okay, great. So, like this and like this and merge. Merged. Code here. There it is. We got it. Oh my goodness. Now I can finally rest, because if I did not solve that problem, I would not have been able to sleep very well tonight. I would just be like constantly agitated about why couldn't I solve it? What was going on? Why? Okay. I feel a lot better. Oh. Okay. All right. Well, I think I'm going to head to bed. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe, and we can go on this journey together. I'm going to keep moving forward on this project. We're going to keep pushing through. We will meet more unexpected errors, more problems, more difficulty, but it's going to be a learning opportunity. And my goodness, I do want to say, like, I learned so much today. I learned so much today. So my brain is like, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Yeah, subscribe. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I will see you guys soon. All right.